Let's be honest. You think I'm going to tell you how to woo a woman with the perfect phrasing, or maybe how to be a better, nice guy. Wrong. I'm here to dive into a deep, uncomfortable truth. When it comes to attraction, a little intellectual puzzle beats constant, predictable praise every single time. Welcome to the complicated landscape of modern desire, where ambiguity reigns supreme. I've spent years consulting with people navigating the minefield of modern relationships, and one pattern emerges universally across cultures and age groups. The moment a person, particularly a man, becomes perfectly readable, perfectly predictable, and overly generous with affirmation, the thrill often evaporates. This isn't just dating folklore. It's backed by profound evolutionary and social psychology. The core of it. Women, much like men, are hardwired to chase value. And nothing screams low value quite like a lack of complexity. The deep allure of the unknown. The idea that mystery fuels attraction is ancient, but neuroscience has given us the receipt. When we meet someone intriguing, someone who doesn't lay all their cards on the table immediately, our brains go into overdrive. This isn't just idle curiosity. It's a powerful psychological phenomenon known as the Zeigarnik effect. Our minds are engineered to seek closure, meaning we remember incomplete tasks better than completed ones. A person who is mysterious is essentially an open-ended novel, and your mind keeps circling back to them, desperate to fill in the missing pages. This obsessive thought process, trying to solve the puzzle of their intentions or their inner world, is what intensifies attraction. Furthermore, mystery directly taps into our reward system. Dopamine, the chemical associated with pleasure, motivation, and reward, surges when we experience unpredictability. If a partner is completely predictable, always texting back instantly, always available, always affirming, there is no suspense. No suspense, no dopamine thrill. But when they reveal themselves in layers, sharing just enough to spark curiosity while holding back unnecessary details, the brain keeps craving more. It's the thrill of the chase, yes, but more specifically, it is the thrill of anticipation and the reward of earned intimacy. This perceived lack of immediate availability also signals something incredibly attractive: confidence and self-sufficiency. A person who constantly seeks external validation, always looking for confirmation, always needing to be liked, often shares too much too soon out of insecurity. The mysterious person, conversely, appears strong and stable, confident enough in their own worth that they don't need to broadcast every detail of their life. They operate with a sense of scarcity which, as basic economics and evolutionary psychology tell us, drastically increases their perceived value. For ancestral men, the imperative was often to maximize mating opportunities, leading to a bias toward overperceiving women's sexual interest, error management theory, or EMT. If the cost of a missed sexual opportunity was historically greater than the cost of pursuing an uninterested partner, natural selection favored the paranoid optimist. This inherent male bias means that if a woman is too accessible or too unambiguous in her sexual signals, she may inadvertently decrease her perceived value for a long-term strategy, signaling high availability. While direct signaling might be efficient for achieving a short-term goal for women, it's often seen as less effective for men in the long run. The compliment conundrum: why praise backfires. Now let's look at the flip side of the coin, the compliment. Why does pouring out validation, telling someone how beautiful they are, how much you adore them, so often fall flat or even backfire? This phenomenon hits people with low self-esteem, LSEs, the hardest. While you might assume someone who doubts their value would crave and embrace positive feedback, considerable research suggests the opposite. LSEs actually tend to resist positive affirmation from their partners because it activates deeper insecurities. If an LSE receives a glowing compliment, they don't immediately feel better. Instead, they often become anxious. They worry that this high praise sets an expectation they can't meet, leading to eventual disappointment and rejection when their inevitable faults are revealed. In essence, the compliment makes them feel less secure, not more. This problem is compounded because LSEs are prone to what is called dependence regulation. When they feel threatened or insecure, they defensively pull away from the relationship and devalue it, rather than drawing closer, which is the exact opposite of how high self-esteem, HSE individuals react. They fail to seize opportunities to enhance feelings of acceptance because they are hesitant to make abstract, generalized meaning out of a specific positive behavior. They view the compliment as a concrete, isolated event, unable to see it as evidence of their partner's enduring love or generalized admiration. Beyond internal psychological defenses, compliments, especially those focused on appearance, create an unwanted division. A looks-based compliment is a reminder that the recipient is being looked at rather than simply being experienced as part of a cohesive unit. Crucially, compliments often shine a spotlight on the feminine performance. Women are socialized to perform beauty, the makeup, the outfit, the effort, and a compliment on beauty can feel like validation of the performance rather than the inherent self. The compliment becomes a demanding contract. Now I must keep looking pretty to maintain this validation, creating anxiety and the fear of being revealed as a fraud. This tension is so strong that many women instinctively deflect or defend against compliments. The truly resonant compliment is the one that speaks to emotion, the feeling the recipient evokes in the giver, e.g., "You make me feel amazing." Not just surface-level attributes, the nice guy archetype, the death of intrigue. Let's talk about the nice guy. In modern dating, two archetypes have gained prominence: the golden retriever boyfriend and the black cat boyfriend. The golden retriever is loyal, eager, agreeable, and always available. He's the one who offers constant compliments, always defers decisions, and avoids conflict at all costs. The black cat is broody, self-sufficient, and harder to read. Why is the golden retriever struggling? Because his eagerness and predictability lead to boredom and burnout. His constant agreeableness often masks avoidance, shifting the burden of planning, decision-making, and conflict management entirely onto his partner. This dynamic quickly turns romance into labor, emotional labor. Specifically, where the woman feels like she's running household logistics for two, or worse, babysitting, a grown man who is unsure of what he wants. The golden retriever's performance of niceness is often perceived as hollow because it stems from a deep-rooted fear of rejection or a need for approval, rather than genuine self-sufficiency. He is constantly operating from a position of low power, desperate to find a girlfriend. A man who loves a woman too deeply, placing her at his emotional center, effectively gives her too much power, stripping the relationship of the necessary tension and challenge that fuels eros. Conversely, the black cat's allure, the mystery, offers relief. He doesn't cling, doesn't require hand-holding, and doesn't outsource adulthood. His quiet, unreadable presence hints at inner strength and maturity. Women aren't necessarily attracted to genuinely distant or emotionally unavailable men, but they are deeply drawn to men who possess resolve, emotional strength, and selective stoicism. Men who don't prioritize external approval over their own truth. This requires a man to maintain his priorities and boundaries, making him a challenge that women feel compelled to pursue. This challenge is viewed as valuable because effort increases subjective value. The harder one has to work for something, the more valuable it becomes. Strategic signaling. The dance of ambiguity. The ambiguity we observe in dating isn't always calculated manipulation. It's often a necessary psychological adaptation for navigating the tricky waters of initial attraction. Research shows that both men and women constantly adjust their signals of sexual attraction relative to how they truly feel. Interestingly, the study of opposite-sex encounters among university students revealed that there was no general evidence of women strategically playing hard to get, coyness, by signaling less attraction than they felt. If anything, the opposite was often true. Women generally reported low levels of sexual attraction, but those women actually inflated their signals, signaled more attraction than they felt. Why the inflation? This upward adjustment, especially at low levels of felt attraction, functions to prompt further communication and gain more information about the potential mate's commitment or sexual interest. By not sending signals of total disinterest, a woman keeps the man's attention longer, allowing her time to assess him further and perhaps strategically increase his hope. This tactical misrepresentation nurtures further interaction, which is critical since women face higher costs from mating with a non-investing man. Ambiguity in this sense acts as a filter, testing the potential partner's persistence and commitment level. Men, on the other hand, frequently curtailed their signals, meaning they signaled less attraction than they actually felt. particularly when their felt attraction was high. Why dampen the signal? For men, highly enthusiastic signaling might be counterproductive or perceived as desperation, especially in a short-term mating context. It might not be considered attractive. Therefore, men adjust downward to maintain that crucial element of challenge and desirability. In sum, this adjustment process shows that in the initial stages, explicit, unambiguous signals, whether of high attraction, for men, or total disinterest, for women, are often suboptimal strategies. Ambiguity allows for the dance to continue, ensuring that each party invests time and energy to gather the necessary information needed to move forward. The spectrum of uncertainty. From intrigue to ostracism, the tension created by healthy mystery, however, stands in stark contrast to the trauma caused by extreme relational uncertainty and ambiguity in modern dissolution. Strategies like ghosting and orbiting. Relational uncertainty is defined by concerns about one's own commitment, the partner's commitment, partner uncertainty, and the future of the relationship uncertainty. This uncertainty is negatively correlated with intimacy, relationship satisfaction, and dedication. The advent of social media platforms, SNSs, has intensified this uncertainty. Modern breakups via digital means often involve a high degree of ambiguity, which in itself creates a distinct set of psychological consequences. Rejection, explicitly ending the relationship, often with some explanation, even if unsatisfactory. Ghosting, suddenly disappearing without explanation and avoiding all communication. Orbiting, disappearing, like ghosting, but continuing to visibly monitor the victim's SNS life, liking posts, viewing stories, creating an even more confusing and ambiguous situation. The psychological impact of being ignored, ostracism, as in ghosting, is often worse than receiving negative attention, explicit rejection. Ghosting is perceived as significantly more unexpected and unfair than explicit rejection because of the total lack of communication and account-making, identifying reasons for the behavior. This total disappearance leads to a higher threat to core psychological needs, particularly the sense of belonging and control. The lack of confrontation leaves the victim at the total mercy of the disengager's decision, drastically reducing their perceived control over the situation. However, orbiting, the ambiguous form of dissolution, can sometimes partially buffer the victim from the intense negative consequences of total disappearance. The sporadic unilateral attention received online, a like here, a story view there, hints at a sort of residual interest. While this sporadic contact doesn't help the victim achieve closure or understand the breakup, it provides some form of attention, which can soften the feelings of exclusion compared to total ghosting. Yet this ambiguity also prevents the orbitee from truly closing the relationship, risking long-lasting feelings of uncertainty and distress. This comparison reveals a fascinating truth. Humans would prefer ambiguous, sporadic attention that suggests potential, mystery, challenge, eventual reward, over the crushing certainty of being rendered irrelevant, ghosting. Making compliments count and cultivating healthy mystery. How do we navigate this complex psychology? We need to learn how to move beyond surface-level compliments that activate insecurity and instead communicate value in ways that resonate deeply, while still maintaining the intrinsic mystery necessary for sustained attraction. The fix for compliments. Abstract reframing. If concrete compliments backfire, the solution lies in how the affirmation is processed. The most effective strategy found in relationship psychology involves encouraging the recipient to reframe the compliment abstractly by describing its meaning and significance for the relationship. When LSEs focused on why their partner admired them and what the compliment meant to their long-term bond, they felt significantly better about the compliment, about themselves, and crucially about their relationship. This powerful, simple cognitive shift made them feel as secure and satisfied as their HSE counterparts. Instead of focusing on the concrete details, "You looked beautiful in that dress last night," the focus shifts to the enduring implication. "That remark showed me you genuinely admire the resilience I bring to our life," which gives our relationship deep significance. This abstract framing transforms the compliment from a fleeting, external judgment into evidence of a partner's continuing admiration and commitment. Cultivating healthy mystery. The modern quest is not for men to be genuinely unavailable or deceptive, but to embody the qualities that the black cat archetype accidentally embodies: self-possession and strength. Women aren't looking for a project to fix. They are seeking equals who carry their own weight, take initiative, and provide consistency without sacrificing depth. This shift defines what some call the princess-era boyfriend. A partner who offers reciprocity and visible dedication without hiding behind stoicism or relying on his partner for emotional management. This is where the true, healthy mystery resides. Selective disclosure. Share, but not everything. Intrigue is maintained by revealing oneself in layers, keeping an inner world that is self-sufficient and doesn't rely on external approval. Boundary enforcement. A confident man is one who is ready to walk away if he is unappreciated. This isn't playing games. It's demonstrating that his priorities, his dreams, goals, and self-respect come first. This firmness separates him from the people-pleaser who cannot tolerate conflict. Unpredictable engagement. Break the scheduled, monotonous and mundane routines that drain a relationship of mystery and fun. Surprise each other, be playful, and occasionally break a harmless rule to inject spontaneity and desire. The most profound attraction happens when a partner feels they have earned access to your genuine self, a self that is strong, purposeful, and not perpetually waiting for approval. In the end, the question isn't whether women prefer mystery or compliments, but rather how the predictability of unearned praise undermines the necessary psychological tension required for desire. Compliments, particularly when delivered by an eager partner, can signal low power and activate deep-seated insecurities, causing the affirmation to backfire. Mystery, conversely, activates our reward circuits and confirms high perceived value, prompting the pursuit that builds attraction. The mature relationship moves beyond both excessive praise and manufactured aloofness, settling into a space of reciprocal investment and deep self-respect. It's here, in the balance between known commitment and undiscovered depth, that love not only survives but truly thrives.